And then I don't know if you want me to allude to the THC situation.
You can speak. Did you get it? That's the more important thing is, did you get it?
I sure did. I'll tell you that. Amazing. I sure did.
Timing is impeccable.
Wow. This is just a regular #1 blend that I have this morning because I need to work for the rest of the day.
But
last night I had a full 8-ounce pour.
Which one of the three?
Three.
What'd you think? Yeah.
Really wonderful.
Did you sleep okay?
I slept great.
Okay, cool. And you didn't get like the jitter like highs, did you? Or was it like a smooth was it like a smooth onset for you?
It was a pretty smooth onset. Maybe halfway through it was a little too much. Because I underestimated the 10 milligrams as I always do.
You've been working out too much. You're too healthy. You know?
That's not the case.
You got to get a little bit more fat going, and then it'll burn a little slower.
Oh, I've been working on shit. You obviously don't get all my stories, so. Hey guys, Phil Toronto back with Open Dialogue. I have Thanh, co-founder of Good Company Tea. Really excited to dive into this today. Thanh is actually coming to us live from Vietnam. So this is our first international interview. Hopefully not our last, but definitely starting off with a really big bang.
Yeah, it's a good way to start the early new year. Hopefully that everyone gets to be international again sooner than later.
Hope so.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here, Phil, and thanks for having me join. It's an honor, and excited to be speaking to you today.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for signing on to do this, especially at the late hour. I guess this is the first time I've ever really spoken to somebody in the future in 2020. How was Monday?
Yeah, we're 12 hours apart. We're 12 hours. It's Monday night for me. It's Monday day for you, right? Monday morning?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to know how the day is going to be for me.
It's going to be good. It's
okay,
good.
Great.
It was a solid Monday today. So yeah, you're on the right path.
Amazing. So Thanh, what were you doing before you launched a tea company in the cannabis world?
Yeah, that's a great question. If I can remember. I was working in tech. So I was at Google, at YouTube, looking over influencer and digital marketing for them. And then prior to that, I was at Visco, the mobile photography app. So I was in tech for a few years, and I started my career in music, which I think we met a lot of our mutual friends through that space. But yeah, so I was in entertainment, tech, the whole nine. For the first, I would say, 10 years of my career until I started Good Company. I officially launched Good Company in 2019, in October 2019. So we just hit our 1-year anniversary recently.
Congratulations. Happy birthday.
So we survived, so we made it through the first year. So we're excited for what's coming up next. And yeah, it's been a really unique ride. I think if you would have asked me 4 years ago, if I would be getting into tea, I would be like, you're nuts, right? Like, what are you talking about? But I think life offers you a lot of unique opportunities as you come along. So it's been an amazing, and I would say the most gratifying, journey thus far in terms of hard, but super gratifying.
That's awesome. So had you been a tea drinker prior to starting the company, or is it something you kind of stumbled into?
Yeah, I would say mainly by heritage. I'm Vietnamese American. I was born in Vietnam and came to the States at a super young age, and just by proximity, right? Like, tea's always been part of our staple, our family staple, right? It's been always part of, for me, the most recurring memory I have of tea is through family gatherings, and that's kind of where the name Good Company came from, is just when people gathered together, and it was always just a very joyous kind of time and very festive kind of time when we had tea and we had tea to offer, and it was always in very very fond social gatherings that I when I think of tea. So it's always been by proximity, and until I would say recently, in the last 3-4 years, I just got a lot more hip to tea because it started becoming like an alternative for me with coffee. Because, I think in the years especially when I was working in like, startup space, I was just, with cold brews on tap in the office. I was drinking like 4 or 5 cold brews a day.
It's easy to overindulge.
Yeah. And I had no idea like how that, it sounds silly to say it. I had no idea how that would like affect sleep patterns and stuff. Cause like, I can still go to sleep, but like the quality of sleep is different. Right. And it just really, for me, it was like, look, I think there's a better alternative, and just you become more adult and wise. And, I think tea is like the natural thing that you kind of gravitate towards.
I think the scientific way to say that is you started to see some shit.
Yeah.
In your trousers.
Yeah.
So you're much make a shift in the lifestyle.
More eloquent than I am, Phil. So, you don't have to flex on that in front of everyone. All right. So,
just the bilingual nature of flexing my French.
Yeah.
You know me.
Yeah. You just start to see some shit. Yeah. That's exactly what it is.
That's the quote.
Exactly.
Highly professional at all times.
Yeah.
I mentioned when I gave you that moderate to pretty good introduction that you're in the cannabis space. That is actually an overarching term, because you aren't in what most people would consider the direct cannabis space at this time. So
right.
Good companies started with CBD. We'll get to what you're planning in the future, but you did start in the CBD industry, which also just presented a bunch of hurdles regardless. Could you elaborate on some like the things you continue to have to push through? Because I know you're not out of the woods yet, but
it's a great question. And I think for us, I think there's pros and cons, right? So the pros to CBD was, given where regulations are, and given there's, it's in the gray areas of regulation, CBD allowed for us to be direct to consumer, at least in the states where it's legal. And that's, I would say, majority of the states that, where our audience is. We haven't found buyers in South Dakota yet, but we're getting there. But so that allowed for us to have a really, I think that was really important for us, especially when we think about as we're in branded consumer products, right? To have a direct handshake with your consumer and your customer is super important. Whereas I think in the traditional cannabis space, right, when we're talking about regulated cannabis products, you lose that through distribution, you lose that through the retailers, and you're kind of just one of many brands fighting for that space, fighting for the line of sight. So those are, there's a lot of pros to CBD. Now, I think the challenges for CBD, I think the challenges as a whole with the cannabis market is, for a direct-to-consumer brand, you're living on, advertising, you're living on eyeballs, and you're living on, reach and all these things. And we don't have access to that, right?
You can't run ads.
You can't run ads, like point blank period. You can kind of do like a kind of weird sideway way of running ads, but
you don't have to elaborate. Let's keep that sideway open for you. Let's hard stop there. But yes.
Yeah. But like, the thing is, it's not great, right? So what it does, again, it goes back to pros and cons. The pros of that is that it makes you very, very, very disciplined about growth, right? And you're not applying the traditional kind of D2C model of spending, to acquire customers and then, doing your best to retain those customers. So I think for us, it's a really, we're super proud to say that most, if not, 90% to 95% of our growth is organic. And awesome. It's coming from word of mouth, or it's coming from the community that, we built the brand around, right? By proximity, and just letting them kind of foster it. Now, it's a very different model, right? Because you're not going to grow overnight. And it just takes a different type of kind of, view in terms of your growth, how long it's going to take for you to grow. But, for us, I think, I didn't quit my job and, leave work to try to get rich overnight, right? I think the thing is like, how do I build something sustainable, and how do I build something that I can be really proud of, and continue to work on, hopefully for the rest of my career.
Totally.
in as long as possible. So I think there's, for me, I think what we're hoping for is obviously there's a lot more open-mindedness to cannabis now, more than ever before. I think it gets better each year, and I think it's more adoption each year. So as that continues to grow, look, like we still feel like we're early, right? And I feel like a lot of brands may feel like, hey, it's too late to get in, or there's other products that it may feel too oversaturated. I think when you think about people that consume cannabis versus people that don't consume cannabis, the latter is way larger, right? And that's your ceiling. So as things progress and as people become more open-minded, I think for us it's just we're just getting our footing, and we're just setting our footing for the first time. So I think that's what we're super ambitious about and excited about, is that over time I think things will open up, and when they do open up, I think we would have enough like rigor at that point, right, to do it right. Totally. And when it's time to scale, we can say, we can understand where to scale. We can understand where to put our efforts and our time in.
For sure. Yeah. One of a couple of the many things that I do like about you is how good you are at tapping into your background and applying that to good company. One of which, obviously, just with the advertising piece is, I mean, you were in the influencer game for a really long time, like identifying, working with them, kind of working that into your business model, I think has been a really key point. I also really like how you've been fostering community. So that's been huge. And this is just pretty much a hype piece for Tan for the most part. I'm getting somewhere, I promise you.
I just send Phil T. So that's the business.
Disclosure, I guess. Yeah. I have paid.
Yeah, that's true. You have paid.
I'll let people know. It's not all flow. But the other piece is just the importance you put on brand, and how every touch point of the good company experience, I feel, has had thought behind it. And not to say that other brands don't do that, but I feel like you go the extra mile to do so, because everything from the packaging, just the clean design, feels very thoughtful. Everything that you touch, the cardstock super premium with any collateral you put in the box, like that I really like. So how the question, which the long-winded lead up to that, was, how do you approach the consumer experience? Because it is obviously so important to you.
Yeah, that's well, I think it's really what you said is that it's about intentionality, and I think it's about creating. I think what we loved about brands that we were attracted to is like that visceral feeling, right? And the visceral feeling of something that you're not completely, dove into yet, but you're just really interested in, and it creates that first impression. But in the context of also the space that we're in with like cannabis and modern day brands, I think it was really about creating a juxtaposition of that, right? And tea is so mundane and it's so common, right? And it's just on the shelf, and it's been there for years and years and years, that it's almost like unassuming. And I think the value in that for us was that we can kind of draft off of that and build something quiet. But how do you, like, quiet doesn't have to be boring, right? It can be premium.
Totally.
It can translate into something that it doesn't impose itself as a brand. It doesn't, I think for us, like, we want it to be very androgynous, right? It could be for guys, girls, old people, young people, just like how tea is. And I think that was part of the brand philosophy, was how do you build something? And I think some of the elements that you're talking about is like just the overall design language, right? Is that, how do we build more of a design system versus then logo marks and overstated branding, and create like a visual language, right? To everything from like the little teacups to the little character, to all these things that I think are part of the universe that we're trying to build. And but then also not be overly serious, because we're also in the cannabis space, and it's not about, trying to outthink everyone, but also, try to build, direct, I would say, like, winks back to the subculture of weed, right?
Totally.
Which is like why you see the tea come in like Mylar bags.
Right.
That was like, to be honest, that was like really a reference to like the bike delivery guys that everyone knows about in New York City.
What are you talking about?
I don't know. Yeah, I'm not exposing anyone. There's so many bike guys, like,
yeah. Who knows what they're carrying? Who knows? That's fine.
Right.
Anyway, a little off topic. That's fine.
Cut that part out for our fellow New Yorkers.
Let's keep it. So you have currently, I guess this is where it's a little choppy water, because like there's technicalities, everything. I would say 4 blends right now, 4 to 5. How do you approach introducing a new blend under the Good Company name? Because I mean, yes, you're in Vietnam right now, but part of the reason you're in Vietnam is this is originally was a sourcing trip, I assume. It's
a sourcing trip,
to find ingredients for the blends. So.
And we get our packaging done here.
Amazing.
Yeah, so we've, and this, I was supposed to come back a month ago, and this was a sourcing trip, packaging trip, also a family trip, right, to see family here, and I just, my extended time here, I've also gotten exposed to an amazing like creative community here.
Cool.
Like so untapped, and I'm like, what do you do? Okay, cool. Some work over here, and no, it's like it's an amazing raw talent here, and I love how raw they are. But they're just not, creating in convention. That's awesome. So I think we're going to see some cool stuff coming soon from this pocket of the world that I'm rediscovering. Yeah, so we have 5 blends, 4 I would say staple blends. And it's split really evenly between daytime blends and nighttime blends, right? So we have everything from Japanese sencha to
the number one.
Number one. Big hug mug. Yeah, so here's Japanese sencha. That's your daytime, kind of probably the most versatile blend. And then your oolong, which is a traditional black tea, which is the most caffeinated. And we bifurcate everything in terms of daytime and nighttime by caffeination. And then your jasmine, it's kind of your afternoon, early evening tea, and then your full wind down, which is your chamomile. And that's been a really, really big hit for us. And a lot of people love chamomile. And then we have this new blend, which is the number 36 blend, which is a collaboration blend. And that's done with One Armenia. Yeah. So for us, I mean, we don't churn out blends every week. It takes a while. The original number 1 blend, the number 1 and number 2 blend took us about 2 years to get done, right? One, because we were just learning tea ourselves.
Totally.
And I had to spend like a whole year learning about tea. And just going to every tea class and learning, it was like I was like the guy that used to it's like the equivalent of like drinking wine and chewing gum,
Yep.
Like that guy, so I had to like really even though you drink something your whole entire life, you really don't learn about it, right? And like the delicacy of it. So the R&D process took us a while. So we spent a lot of time to develop that. And once we had that kind of understanding and the way that we wanted to approach blend making, everything else started to become a little bit more intuitive for us. And for us, how we came about with the number 36 One Armenia was actually through a mutual friend of ours, Chris Stang.
I thought that might be the case.
Yeah, Chris's wife is Armenian, and Chris has been very involved in social causes in the country there. And One Armenia was, Patrick is the CEO of One Armenia, and he and I became really quick friends through Chris. And, we had talked about doing something together for about a year, and he was like a huge champion of Good Company early on, even when we were still like in R&D phase. And we were like, yeah, we're going to do something. And we eventually made it happen. COVID pushed it back a lot further than we wanted to, but it's been amazing. And obviously with unfortunately with the recent stuff with Armenia, it just like made it even more critical for us to be doing stuff like that and supporting causes like that. And I think for us, collaboration blends are something I feel like it's not just from a marketing standpoint, but really from like, how do we create community, right? And how do we build community through products? And how are we able to reach people and also bring a more unique platform to cannabis too, right? Because for most of these people that are buying this blend, they may have never really tried cannabis before, but now that it's becoming more socially accepted and it's through a vehicle that they can understand and through a partnership that they can understand, it just provides more opportunities for more people to be turned on to cannabis as a whole.
Totally.
So for us, it's just it's a win for everyone, and we're super happy about it. And we're super proud of it, and yeah. So that's for us, blends don't really come out often, but the idea is to have this like revolving door. And that's always been my thought is, how do we have these like very limited collaboration blends over time? And then when you look back, you have like,
oh yeah, this catalog.
Yeah. I love the catalog, man. Like, like the idea of like, and that's what I think about when I think about brands that I love, that you look back and there's like this amazing kind of index and body of work that they've done. And I think that's super important for us to at least aspire to do.
For sure. I think you're on your way. One more question, then I'm going to let you go to sleep. I believe you're drinking the number 4 blend. I'm not sure. I don't want to put blends in.
I'm drinking the Jasmine right now.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Number 3. What are you excited about? What's next for Good Company? Like anything in the pipeline that you can tease or want to talk about before I let you get on with your night?
Yeah, man. I'm super stoked and I think this is the first time that we're announcing it, like officially. Phil Toronto exclusive. Do some like bomb drops right there. We're super excited to be bringing to market our THC versions of the tea. So it's going to be our first official foray into proper cannabis, as I like to call it. We're going to be distributing the first number 1 and number 3 as THC blends through California retail. So we're going to be doing that through California retail as well as California delivery. Looking forward to it to later this hopefully before the holidays this year. So it's to me, it's THC has always been something that we've thought about, and we actually thought about THC way before we thought about CBD.
Oh, I remember. I mean, I think we first met, honestly, maybe like 2018, maybe.
Yeah.
And we were in that cafe in Nolita. I forget where exactly, but you led with that. You're like, we're going to get here, but we're starting here. Yeah.
It was, man, that cafe was great. Great eggs.
Yeah, despite us not being able to remember the exact name, but great place.
Great place. So I'm super excited about THC, man. And I feel like for me, it's really like we love. I mean, I love the CBD, but the original thinking around Good Company was revolved around THC and what it meant to build a product around experience. And that was really what we wanted to go after. And I feel like we really hit it on the spot with the THC blend. And I hope people feel the same way. So I'm super excited. I'm just eager to get out into the market.
Totally. It's been in the works for so long. It's like, oh, here we go.
Right. Just get it out. And then and it's also one of those things where it's, I think the tough thing about CBD is that there's subjectiveness, right? I think THC it's more tangible for people, right?
Yeah.
For certain people. So I think that, and it gives, I would say, the products a bit more legs, right? In terms of how it can travel, and what we're excited about, just having people share it with other people, things like that.
Totally.
Yeah, and I feel like this new dawn that we're in now, I feel like it's a very appropriate time to put out something like that. So that's what I'm stoked about. So we're going to be heads down in the next couple of months, just getting that to market.
I bet it's going to go great.
Yeah, man.
Before I let you go, like where can people find you or find Good Company on the internet?
I rather people find Good Company, because I'm terribly boring at social media. Unless you get the green circle like you and I have.
Damn.
But my handle's right here. You can see it. It's Ton. But follow at It's Good Company T, and that's really the best place to
on Instagram and Twitter.
On Instagram and Twitter. And
Awesome.
that's where the good stuff lives. So
love it.
Yeah, man.
Ton, thank you for doing this.
Phil Toronto, dude, thank you so much. Hopefully this was the interview of your dreams.
It actually was.
We should do a 5-year follow-up. Thank you, brother. Appreciate you. Talk to you later.
This is great, dude.
Bye, Phil.
See ya.